Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed live from Los Angeles. I'm Alex Curry here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys. How we doing this Friday?
Doing great. Doing great. Have a lot of food. No, I told you Monday morning. I said, Skip, on with that same energy on Friday. No. This here happened, that there happened, and turn around and look at your camera. I want you to look at your camera and just bang the table. How?
You know what? I can't take this anymore, so for the rest of the show, I'm going under the table. I'm going to do the show from under the table because
you should.
I can't take you anymore. I can't take your abuse of my team anymore. So it's your show. It's your moment. You do it.
Remember yesterday, Skip? Oh, do you need to call in? You need to take Friday off? You're welcome to take Friday off. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have the guts. I'm going to have the courage
your
to
conviction.
face your music for 2.5 hours. I'm going to have the courage of my convictions to back my team. You front run on all your teams. You jump off every bandwagon and onto another one. I'm staying on the Cowboys bandwagon here.
I said, Skip, be careful. Oh, my team, we're back in it.
Can we please start the show?
Yeah, we'll get to that, Skip. That was a tough one for you last night. But we have a lot to get to today, starting with the Cowboys letting their Thanksgiving game get away from them yesterday when Washington took a 17-10 lead and never looked back. Washington went on a 26-6 run and walked away with a decisive 41-16 victory to take the lead in the NFC East. So, Shannon, what was the biggest reason for the Cowboys' loss?
The Cowboys are a bad football team. They're bad from top to bottom. Skip, when you look at this team, I want someone to tell me, what do the Cowboys do really well? Do they run the ball particularly well? No, they do not. Take Minnesota aside, they're average to below average running the team. Do they throw the ball particularly well? They can't throw it well because they really can't protect the quarterback. So the answer to that is no. Okay, Skip, let me ask you this. Do they stop the opposing team from running the football? No, they do not. Even though they won the game against Minnesota, Dalvin Cook still went for $115. We've seen teams go for over 300 yards total. Over 200. Two teams have gone for over 200 yards total. Do they stop the pass? Their secondary is average. And I'm being nice, Skip. I'm going to be nice today. Thanksgiving just happened, so I'm going to be nice.
Bologna.
Okay, so
to make probably ate some bologna yesterday.
So make a long story short, their team doesn't do anything well. And so when you compound that, a coach that makes very, very bad decisions, it makes it look worse. And that's why the Cowboys are where they are. And I'm sure we're going to get down into it, Skip, but the basically is this. Their coaching is terrible. And I told you, Mike McCarthy, you said, we got us a made man. I say, Skip, you have to understand. Now, look what he had at the quarterback position. He had 2 Hall of Famers, first ballot, guys that have won 5 total MVPs, that have gone to and won Super Bowls. Look at what he's doing now when he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, when he doesn't have Brett Favre. Skip, that was ridiculous. First of all, it's a 10-10 ball game. 10-10. Skip, your defense was playing well up until that point.
Okay, you just said it was trash.
No, Skip. Okay. Playing well is one thing. Being good is something entirely different. If you are a good football team, you're not 3 and whatever. That's not good. What area can you say they're good in? Okay, that one.
Okay, well, can I answer? I'm trying to give you the floor.
Go ahead. What do you say they're good in?
They lost their quarterback against the New York Football Giants. We have to go back, 5 games ago?
Yeah.
They lost their quarterback.
But they were losing when they had him.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so Skip, and when I look at it, I'm like, okay, it's fourth and couple of inches and you're playing with. I was like, okay, it's 10-10 ball game. The area of the field. But I keep telling you all along, you say you like that. It's showing that he has confidence in his team. I say, Skip, you got to look at the situations. I said, you got to be careful. You can't say every time I'm trying to give them a spark, because if you don't get it, you're basically handing them 3 points. If they don't do anything, they got 3 points. Now, guess what you do? Dalton Schultz gets a personal foul penalty, so it goes from the 34 to the 19.
Can you explain the personal foul? I don't know what happened. I know he lost his mind, and he jumps on
top of the guy.
I don't know what he was doing. Did he get mad at him? Was it a cheap shot? I don't know, but it cost us 15 more yards. 15 yards,
and so now what was you going to give up 3 probably? Now you end up giving up 7. And then to top it off, I mean, you know, at the end of the night, it's Thanksgiving. At the end of the night, you're going to have some dessert. You're going to have pecan pie, sweet potato pie. You're going to have some kind of dessert, Skip, cobbler. Mm-hmm. Guess what Mike McCarthy do? He said, you know what? I went 4-4 down in my own territory. I'm going to sign off on Bones, especially that play right here. I'm going to sign off on that. Fake punt at my own 24. Skip, did you see how far the guy had to bubble? We just talked about that. I'm like, bro, Mike, why would you do that? In that situation, Skip, it's 12 minutes. It's 12 minutes in the ball game. You good. And he panicked. And it just snowballed from there. And that was game, set, match, ball game's over. Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones needs to seriously think. Now, he told Jerry a lie to begin with to get the job. That's what happened. Because he told him, I watched every single play. And then come to find out, well, I really didn't watch every single play. I just wanted the job.
Yep.
And Skip, maybe he's in over his head. Because what I'm seeing from Mike McCarthy is that when he doesn't have Brett Favre, he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't even look like the same head coach. And those bonehead plays compounded by the fact that your team is average to below average. And all this, stop with all these Pro Football Focus and referencing this and that. The Cowboys are the most talented this, the most talented that. That's not talent. That's not talent. Defensively, they're not talented. They're not. They're really not. So, Skip, I don't really like, yes, I do. I'm going to let you talk about Zeke, because I know you go about to jump on Zeke with both feet and just rub his face all in the dirt. I know you're about to do that. So I'm going to let you have Zeke. But you got exactly what you deserve.
Okay. It is my turn to correct everything you just said.
Okay.
I am here to tell you, my team was in position. It was poised to win that game yesterday. It came out of the chute like gangbusters. And in the first Cowboy drive, and it was a drive, it felt like it was going to be a touchdown drive after my defense had completely shut down and out the Washington football team on its first possession with a quick 3-and-out, including a sack of one Alex Smith. Created by DeMarcus Lawrence, finished off by Randy Gregory. Here comes my offense. Boom, 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 down the field. And on one play, I lose my left tackle, Cam Irving. And 4 plays later, I lose my new right tackle, Zach Martin, who happens to be, in my view, the best offensive lineman in all of football. He is at least the best right guard in all of football. And he had been moved for the Minnesota game a week ago to right tackle, and everything had suddenly gelled and clicked and fired in the offensive line because Connor McGovern, a second-round pick of a year ago, was able to slide into right guard where he belongs, and all of a sudden, we actually had a football team. All of a sudden, at Minneapolis, against a Minnesota team that had won 3 straight games, we played the best game, certainly best road game, of any team in the NFC least this year. And I give you the least, but there was no more impressive win out of the NFC East this year than Dallas at Minnesota. I dare you to go find one and say, voila, because you won't be able to find one. They did at least hold Dalvin Cook to his average of 115. He did not run for 300 yards like a lot of people thought he would. Andy Dalton was superb in that game. CeeDee Lamb was superb in that game. And somehow, some way, they pulled out a 31-28 victory. And then on a short week, tragedy struck in Dallas, Texas. And they lost a 54-year-old strength and conditioning coach named Marcus Paul, who, by all accounts, was the light of the weight room, the light of the locker room, the light of every pregame, pre-practice stretching session. He was a rock for that franchise. He's been with other franchises. He's been with New England and the Giants. He has participated in 5 Super Bowl victories, and by all accounts...
The Giants even released a statement.
They did.
Spoke glowingly of it.
A fine man and a fine football coach. Lost at 54, obviously way too early. It shook up this football team. McCarthy said after the game last night that they had a very emotional Wednesday night meeting at the hotel. They obviously dedicated the game to Marcus Paul. They obviously wore patches on their helmets. MP. And obviously you've been around teams that have suffered some sort of tragedy within the family. It can go either way.
Right.
It can deflate or it can inspire. I'm going to guess that it was inspiring because I liked the way they came out of the chute yesterday. Okay. It looked like everything was falling together for them to have a big Thanksgiving Day feast on national TV with much of America looking in. It's probably the second most sort of watched game this side of the Super Bowl. Am I right about that? Yeah. And that's because people are in and out. It's a lot of relatives, a lot of aunts and uncles. I hope people weren't too close together yesterday, but you know they were.
Right.
A lot of family gatherings. And people are talking, and maybe they're still eating dessert or whatever they're doing, or maybe they're just starting dinner, but just about everybody watches a snippet of the Dallas Cowboy game every Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking, here we go. And for the big picture here, I want everybody to know that Tyron Smith has been for years the best left tackle to me in football, and he managed to make it for 2 games. And you correctly predicted before the year, you better be careful, he's got a back issue, and he's had it for a couple of years, so he lasted 2 games.
He's been trending to missing games.
Lyle Collins, my right tackle, also Pro Bowl caliber, I should say all-pro caliber right tackle, played no games this year. So for much of the year, I had to have a Terrence Steele at right tackle and a Brandon Knight at left tackle, both of them undrafted. One of them a rookie from Texas Tech, the other one a second-year player from Indiana. And all of a sudden, in the first offensive series, I wind up with both of them back in the game. Boom, boom. I want everybody to just let this sink in, that Terrence Steele played at Texas Tech and nobody drafted him. Would you believe that 47 offensive linemen were drafted in the draft and nobody took Terrence Steele, and he became my emergency right tackle once again yesterday? Brandon Knight, nobody in the 2019 draft drafted him. 40 offensive linemen went in 2019. So 47 and 40 linemen were drafted before this. How good are those 2 guys? Help me out.
Well, Skip, they made the roster. Okay, so Dallas must be thinking they're pretty good.
That could be Jerry's fault, right? that you can't be better than that. At least they did go out and snatch up a Cam Irving because they really needed somebody to bolster up one side or the other. Cam Irving started 8 games a year ago for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was a godsend for me. And he was hurt for the first 8 games of this year and had just come back to, he was a first-round pick, mid-first-round pick. He had come back to that kind of form where he was at least respectable at left tackle. And you take both of them away with Andy Dalton back there against a Washington front that features 5 first-round picks in the rotation, features a Tim Settle, who, by the way, people don't know him. He had the last sack of the day on Andy Dalton, which was a huge one, just before the 4th down fake punt. Tim Settle made first-team All-Pro, Pro Football Weekly, Pro Football Focus Weekly All-Pro team. He made it last week.
Off the Cincinnati game.
Off the Cincinnati game. Well, he's pretty good. And you throw him in, and I'm looking at that Cole Holcomb from North Carolina. He's
a thumper.
Hey, every time I look up, number 55's in the middle of something. You can't tell me that's not a really good front. Is it maybe a top 5 front?
They're very good.
Okay.
And you see the way they built it, those 2 tackles with Allen and Payne?
Okay, so help me out. If you take away Zach Martin and Cam Irving and you put in 2 undrafted kids, and they are just flat-out kids, what do you think's going to happen the rest of the game? We're almost certainly going to lose that game because we're just not talented enough to be able to hold up for 4 quarters against that front, and in the end, we couldn't. So I don't care what anybody says. We would have won the game if those 2 guys had not gone down. So for me, when it comes to my team, my Dallas Cowboys, I had nothing to give thanks for yesterday because to me, it felt like the whole season was not meant to be. You've been involved in seasons where for whatever reason, the injury god said, no, not this year. You got to wait until next year.
Right.
So my team is officially now waiting to next year, and I was already waiting till next year after the first series.
Skip, you still, look, it's still a bad division. You're 1 game back.
There's no way. Not with those 2 kids at the tackles. I got no shot.
You don't know if they're not coming. You don't know if Zach Martin and Cam Irving's not coming back.
Zach Martin tore his calf muscle.
Well,
it was already nagging during the week. They listed him with the calf on the injury report, and I'm pretty sure it completely tore. And you know and I know, it's just like a hamstring. Once it goes, you are done.
Well, he can't put anything because he's not going to be able to push off or he's going to be able to stop the rush.
Cam Irving put a brace on his knee, and I don't know exactly which one, but he came back out without his helmet and at least watched the game. Can he come back and play left? I have no idea. I just don't love my prospects from here on. But now back to your point. It did come down to a 4th and 1, and the game is still 10-10. And I'm okay with my coach saying it's 4th and 1. You know, you're in your territory, but again, if you have a play that you say, we got this, then I don't mind it, but you better have the right play at the right time. So do you give it to your $90 million running back? Well, he's out of the equation. We're going to talk more about him in just a minute. But I will just tell you right now, they have decided he is not worthy or capable of 4th. And that wasn't 1, that was a half yard.
Right. It's inches.
Okay. It was a matter of inches. And they're still saying that number 21, we cannot trust to get inches.
Right.
Because he just moves too slowly. He doesn't hit the hole with the force he used to. He doesn't have the breakaway burst he used to. And they said, okay, we got choices here. We say number 21, no. Dalton sneak, I would have gone with Dalton sneak if that's what you want to do, because he got 2 more short ones on 3rd down and 1 4th down later in the game. Okay, if you have a pass play, I'm talking about a pass play that might break for the whole, go to the house with it, okay? But they had been picking on Ronald Darby the whole game. Dalton had just thrown a 54-yard touchdown pass, right?
Yeah.
So he decides, let's throw it to CeeDee Lamb on Darby. Well, Darby was all over him. In fact, he was, if we could see it again, he's so all over him, it's blatant pass interference. He gets there so early. He tackled CeeDee Lamb before he had a chance to even get his arms up to catch the football.
I think the thing is, Skip, why they didn't call it is because CeeDee is already starting to fall down. So they're like, nah, we're not going to bail you out.
He is there too early. Whatever. But it's hard for me to dredge up much emotion about it because Dalton Schultz simultaneously is disqualifying the pass interference because it's going to get canceled. It's going to get nullified by the fact that Dalton Schultz loses his mind, a kid from Stanford, and dives on one of the Washington football team players. Well, I don't know what you're doing, okay? And now, CeeDee Lamb, I've raved about him all year. I made the mistake of raving about him too much yesterday because he had by far his worst game as a professional football player, including a play late in the 3rd quarter in which this is after the Jalen Smith run back that he got tracked down by McLaurin. We know that. So it's 1st and goal at the 4. Zeke obviously starts off that series by going nowhere. He goes -2. Then they try some weird reverse run to CeeDee that gets blown up and goes nowhere. And
it
now
looked like it was going to be a pass, though, Skip.
He was going to throw it to Andy Dalton. Okay, but it got blown up, and Washington was all over all the tricks, okay? But then on 3rd down, Andy Dalton drops back, and he's got heat in his face, and he fires a flat-out rocket strike. right on the button to CeeDee Lamb, who made the NFL catch of the year at Minnesota in the end zone. And this one must have been too easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just too easy.
Sometimes the easy ones that get you, Skip.
It almost hit him in the face, and it went right through his mitts, and it's the drop of the year for the Dallas Cowboys because if you catch that ball, guess what? You're right in the, what would that have made the score? That would be... That would put them up, right? It's 20-16. No, wouldn't it have put them up by 3? It would have been 23-20.
Right.
Okay, so you could... No, I'm sorry. They got the field goal there. It would have tied the score.
Game.
Okay, so it ties the score going to the fourth quarter. Do I think my team would have won in the fourth quarter? Honestly, from my heart, I doubt it.
Right.
I doubt it, but at least... you're in the game. The final score was 41-16, and if he catches that ball, you're tied going to the fourth quarter.
Right.
Explain that to me, because you can't.
But I told you the Cowboys would score 16 points.
Okay.
But let me ask you this, Skip. You lose Zach Martin. You lose Cam Irving. Which one of those can tackle, and which one of those guys can call plays?
Okay. So here's what I think about Antonio Gibson. And right now, he is playing at a much higher level than Ezekiel Elliott.
There's no question about that.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But he had been averaging 58 yards rushing per game. He had his biggest game by far against
First time around against the Cowboys.
Okay, so this time he's got a grand total of 55 yards, and we hadn't gotten to the fake punt. The fake punt came early in the fourth quarter, right after the CD drop, right? And they run. It was simply the single dumbest play call on fake punt that I have ever seen, and I have been covering the game far longer than you played the game. In my life, I've never seen a dumber play call because, to your point, Cedric Wilson, a high school quarterback in Memphis, went to Boise State. He looped so deep, he looped 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
So you give everybody a chance to catch up.
So help me out. You don't turn and go north.
Right.
You're going south, 15 yards.
Right.
You don't turn and go north until you are now going to have to cover. Think about this. You're going to have to run 25 yards to get a first down.
Right.
Help me out. Who would call a play that would lose 15 yards when you need 4th and 10 to cover, right?
Well, Skip, it looks like, again, they're looking to try to throw the ball to the punter. So they have to loop. But, Skip, that's too far because the punter, Skip, once I see the punter take off, I'm going to cover him. At least fake like the ball's going over here. They snapped it over my head.
There's no surprise.
No.
You need on 4th and even on 4th and 4, you need a surprise attack.
Yes.
You need something. You snap it to the short man and he runs up the gut. Whatever it is. You snap it to the punter and he stands up and throws it to the perimeter, right? In this case, the new punter, he's only been there for 3 weeks, is Hunter Niswander. He is 6 feet 5 inches tall, and he's listed at 243, and he might weigh 250, okay? So he's like a tight end playing punter. So I assume they thought that he could catch it. And they also sent Goodwin out in a little, like a little loop into the middle, and he's wide open.
Yeah.
But it looked like Cedric Wilson never even looked.
Right.
It's like he put his head down and started going, and the Redskins had plenty of time to say, really?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do?
Well, they was trying to high low, because normally what happens, Skip, is that when the guy releases inside, the guy that's on the edge, he normally goes with him. But this time, for whatever reason, he didn't go.
Okay.
So now Cedric Wilson sees that, because Cedric is Skip, I got to pretend like I'm going to run it.
Okay.
And then at the last minute, I'm going to pull up and throw it.
Okay. So that is such a debacle. It's such a blow to the psyche of the football team, whatever psyche is left, that the defense comes out and then turns completely into the bad old days defense. And on the very next play, Antonio Gibson goes 23 yards untouched, and it looked like the play at Washington when he went 12 yards.
It was the exact same play. It was just further out.
It looked like the same play. And then very quickly in the next series, he goes 37 yards untouched.
That's the one. That was the same play, yeah.
And on the second one, he's waving to Donovan Wilson, the safety, okay? So my point is, look, he got 60 easy yards at the end, and he only had 55 up to that point. So they had done a credible job on stopping him or containing him, not on the whole Washington football team, because they went up with 180 yards rushing, and the other two backs are getting their share too.
Skip, but here's the thing. If Alex Smith was healthy, Skip, he can only do so much. He's not mobile anymore. Alex Smith used to have legs, but he can't go anywhere. Skip, they'd have beat the brakes off the Cowboys. That was the only reason the Cowboys were in the game.
Alex Smith had a QBR of 22 yesterday, scale of 0 to 100, so he was not good.
Right.
Andy Dalton, to me, was very good under the circumstance of having neither tackle. He had a QBR of 74 yesterday. I'll take that to my bank. That was good enough to win the game. Andy Dalton made the throw to CeeDee Lamb that should have tied the score. Well, what am I supposed to do with all this? It's just not meant to be. It wasn't my year. It's your year. Congratulations. Be my guest.
I'm not a guy that I don't like sitting over here gloating, and that's not what I'm about.
I mean, you won a cheap NBA championship in the bubble, and now it looks like your Chiefs are rolling. My Cowboys are not. Your Eagles are not going to win the East, but it's going to come down to Washington or the New York Football Giants.
As long as you don't win it.
Yep. I'm done. I'm out.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
Reigning Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes finds himself a favorite over Tom Brady and the Buccaneers on Sunday. Now, Mahomes has a more recent MVP and Super Bowl, but he still said he doesn't believe he's on the same level as Brady. This will be the fourth time these two quarterbacks have met, with Brady having the 2-1 edge. So, Shannon, who wins? Kansas City or Tampa?
Skip, I'm taking the Chiefs. I anticipate a very, very high-scoring game. I'm not in love with either defense. The Chiefs have 6 sacks in the last 6 games, and Derek Carr was clean. Well, you leave 12 in Tampa clean, and he'll pick you apart. So that's why I'm anticipating a very high-scoring game. Would I be surprised 41-38, 45-41? I would not be surprised if I got a score to approach that. Skip, Mahomes is great. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say about him. I mean, he's 27-2, I think 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3,000 yards. He's on pace to throw for 40 touchdowns and almost 5,000 yards, right at 5,000 yards. The key for Tampa, Skip, they're going to have to run the football. You're going to have to control the clock and run the football. And I believe you can run the football against Kansas City. Kansas City defense doesn't look like it did at the midway and finishing up last year. It looks like the 2018 defense, Skip, that had trouble, and that's what cost them from getting to back-to-back Super Bowl, because they couldn't stop Tom Brady. Even though they got him in 3rd and 10 3 straight times in the championship game, they couldn't get him off the field. And it's starting to look like that defense again, and that concerns me. Tampa's banged up. Donovan Smith has been out all week. He got hurt in the game, but he finished the game against the Rams. The center, he left the game, Skip, and Arians is talking like he might be having a career-ending injury. Ali Marpet was in concussion protocol the last 2 weeks. So if they get him back...
I think they will.
You think they will?
Mm-hmm. I think so. He did practice twice.
The question is, if you can't generate pressure on Tom Brady, you can't beat him. If you look at the game that they lost, Skip, it's a reoccurring theme. It's nothing spectacular. It's not like they ran the ball for 10,000 yards. They did one thing. New Orleans beat him twice, Chicago beat him, and the Rams beat him. Pressure, pressure, pressure. And for the most part, they did it with their front four. New Orleans, their front four. The Rams, their front four. Chicago, it was Hicks, it was Quinn, it was Khalil Mack. That's what did it. And if Kansas City can't pressure him with their front four, they're going to be in trouble. And Tom Brady will look like Tom Brady against Carolina, because the back end for the Chiefs is average at best. And I'm being nice. They can be had. So if we come in here on Monday and Tampa's won this game, I ain't gonna be shocked. Because I'm telling you, Kansas City has issues on the defensive side of the football. But Mahomes will be great. He will be extraordinary. I promise you.
So your final score is, at this point in time?
I'm going to go 41-38.
41-38. Interesting. Okay. You are picking Kansas City.
I'm picking Kansas City.
But you're not going to be surprised if that score is reversed.
No.
Okay. Just when I was ready to drive the Brady bandwagon all the way to the Super Bowl that's in Tampa.
And the MVP. You can go lie to give the MVP.
I was all in. The shock of the NFL season for me has been the Tampa Bay defense the last 2 primetime nights they have played. Mm-hmm. I love Todd Bowles. I have nothing but the deepest respect for Todd Bowles. I could not recognize the Todd Bowles defense against New Orleans on a Sunday night, followed by the Rams on a Monday night, both in Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. I can't explain it because it is inexplicable that defense started looking almost as bad as my Cowboy defense looked earlier this year and for much of the year. Mm-hmm. It gave up 420 yards to Drew Brees and never really even slowed him down.
No.
It gave up 413 yards to Jared Goff, and it slowed him down here and there, but not nearly enough. And when he needed to go get a field goal to win the game, it was just candy from babies.
Right.
They did not blitz Jared Goff much, and when they tried, he ate it alive. Mm-hmm. So the defense that has lived and died off blitzes, creative blitzes, especially featuring those 2 inside backers who just wreak havoc.
Right.
Looping, stunting, coming from everywhere, corner blitzes. Nothing worked against the Rams, and they backed off very quickly on that. So what am I supposed to do with this? The greatest thing about Patrick Mahomes' year so far is he has annihilated blitzes. That's what he's done the best.
It's not even close what he's doing.
His QBR versus blitzes is 98. That means he's rarely missed a throw against a blitz. Okay, so what Todd Bowles does best
is what he eats the most.
He eats the most. he lives for blitzes. It looks like his eyes light up. Mm-hmm. Because he has the most dangerous receiving core to me in all of pro football because nobody has the electrifying speed of Tyreek.
No.
And no tight end is better than Kelsey. Listen, he is a wide receiver playing tight end.
Yeah.
He's so athletic. He and Mahomes have such a wavelength that those are the 2 best weapons in pro football, and Patrick has them right at his fingertips. Yep. And he trusts both of them to the nth degree. Jamel Dean is one of the starting corners. He got concussed in the second half of the Rams game, and he did not practice this week. I'm going to guess he's not going to play.
Right.
Help me out. What am I supposed to do with this now? Yeah. The defense has been pitiful in 2 straight games. Here comes an even better offense, and a starting corner is not going to play. Mm-hmm. What do you think's going to happen? Listen, seriously, your man, my homeboy, should be ashamed if he doesn't score 40 points. Seriously, it's on a silver platter to score 40.
Skip, you talk about how Todd Bowles likes to blitz, but if you look at when he was in Arizona, what did he have? He had 2 guys, Crow and Pat P, that can go lock people down. So now I can blitz, Skip, because now if you blitz with, you got young guys on the back end that they guess entirely too much and they have lazy eyes because they're not paying attention to the receiver. They're trying to get cheap picks. And next thing you know, guys double move them, guys will run by them. You're like, bruh.
Because in my life watching professional football, observing, covering pro football, I've never seen more open receivers than Drew Brees had on that Sunday night. I'm talking about wide open, where it's 10 yards of distance to the DB.
And teams, what it looks like to me is that the teams are trying to put those guys in space. And so Todd Bowles is trying to cover up for them being in space by blitzing them. Skip, they're not cover guys. Those are thumpers. And they want to come downhill and they want to knock people's blocks off. Well, I'm trying to get you in coverage. You don't want them covering Kelsey. You don't want them trying to cover slot receivers up the seam and on the sail route. That's not where they're good at. You want them coming downhill.
I am enamored of Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yes.
He's a great pick, and he will become a great player.
Yes.
He's a rookie playing safety. And you know and I know he's going to false step occasionally.
Yeah.
He's going to bite. He's going to be a little late. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
so they're not great in the back end. I thought their front end would wreak more havoc than it has wreaked because Shaq Barrett led the league in sacks last year, and he's not on that pace anymore.
No, well, Skip, here's the thing. People like, hold on. Dude got 19 sacks. He might be pretty good.
Yep.
Let's give him a little extra attention.
Okay.
And that's what they're doing. They're paying Shaq Barrett a little. They make sure they chip him with the tight end, or they chip his side with the back, or they slide the line his way. Because a lot of times, although JPP comes a bunch, Skip, they don't have a problem dropping JPP in coverage. That's why he has all those interceptions, Skip, because JPP will drop in coverage. Whereas Shaq Barrett, they're really trying to get him to pressure the quarterback. But, Skip, you say Tom Brady hasn't been good against the blitz. But Tom Brady has been great when they haven't pressured him. You have to be able to pressure him with 4 because you don't want to sacrifice your back end, especially if your back end is deficient as the Chiefs.
Here's what scares me about a Chiefs defense that you don't have the highest regard for. They are ranked 7th in the National Football League in points allowed. They allow the yards, but they don't allow the points.
Right.
Something's pretty good there. So I don't think that they're a pushover. I don't think Tom Brady is going to be able to go up and down the field on them. To your point, you got to get some heat on him, and I don't know if they can. Do I love Tom Brady after a loss? Yes, I do, because he's been notoriously great after losses for the opposition's sake, where he's this is where he is most dangerous.
Yep.
When he went to Carolina, they were coming off the New Orleans debacle.
Right.
And Carolina had just gone to Kansas City and taken them to the wire. It was 33-31 at Kansas City.
That's Teddy Bridgewater.
It was Teddy Bridgewater, and he had a better QBR, 89 to Mahomes' 83 that day. So he effectively, quote-unquote, outplayed Mahomes. So here's Carolina, and I told you on that Friday, man, this is a dangerous spot for them. It's a division game on the road coming off that sorry effort against New Orleans. Can they dredge it back up? And did they ever? That was Brady masterpiece.
So if I give you a choice, I'm going to say, Skip, against the Chiefs defense, I'm going to give you Teddy Bridgewater on the road against the Chiefs defense, or I'm going to give you Tom Brady at home against the Chiefs defense with those weapons.
Well, obviously. So to your point, my heart is saying Brady, Brady, Brady. My head is screaming back at my heart, you better be careful here, because can he score 40 plus? Because I think he's going to have to score 40 to win this game. Unless you tell me that Todd Bowles' defense has enough pride that it's one of those days where they dredge up whatever's left of their pride and their passion and their guts, and they just say, that's enough of this. Not in our house this time.
Right.
Watch this. If they rise up and have one of those emotional, just over-the-top, all-out efforts against Mahomes where they make every play, every moment, they don't make one mistake, they don't give up any big play like bomb plays, and they hang in there, I think Tampa could win this game 38-35. At best, they will hold them to 35. But my head is saying, no, it's going to be 42-38 because Mahomes is going to get that one more touchdown to go 42-38.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. But in the end, it's not going to be Brady's fault that they lose. And I think even you are seeing that.
Yeah.
This is going to be a shootout, old versus young.
Right.
And yet, I don't know that Brady's defense will be much, if any, better than Mahomes' defense.
Yeah, this game is going to be about turnover, Skip. Which quarterback avoids the turnover? Which running back doesn't put it on the ground? Which wide receiver doesn't let the ball carry him off his hands and goes, or who doesn't turn the football over? Because these offenses against those defenses, the last thing you want them to do is have extra possessions.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you two guys or a guy that can have a big game. I like the tight end matchup. I like Cameron Brake. I like Gronk against that secondary because I believe they can be had, especially the tight end position. I saw what Waller did last week. Now, is Gronk that guy? Can Gronk summon that up? Probably not, but the two of them together, I think, can have a big day against the secondary.
Did Brady have a better game at Las Vegas than Mahomes did? Yep, he did. Will that translate to Sunday afternoon? I don't know. Is Brady under fire from his own head coach right now? Is his own head coach going to be the undoing of Tampa Bay? Well, might be. Because remember, Bruce Arians even doubled down on his scathing critiques of Brady the next day after we did the first big salvo.
Yes.
Because he was asked the following day about Leonard Fournette drop 3 passes on last Monday night. And by the way, Ronald Jones, dropped another that was a screen pass that hit him right in the hands. And instead of going ahead and giving a scathing critique of those 2 guys, he said, well, look, Leonard will catch those 3 balls next week. That was very uncharacteristic of him. Okay, but they hit him right in the hands. And then Rojo, on a screen pass, he blamed it on Brady. He said he threw it too quick. He said there was a free rusher that got loose, but he threw it way too quick. Well, Ronald Jones was the designated receiver on that play on a screen, and he turned and it hits him right there, and it goes right through his hands. Well, that's 4 drops by the backs that Brady lived for in New England. Like his whole lifeblood was flipping it to James White or Rex Burkhead, right?
But to Kansas City credit now, Skip, the Raiders have a very good offensive line. Rodney Hudson, Colton Miller, although Brown is out, they got a very good offensive line. Now, do you believe Tampa's line is the equivalent or close to it?
It's had its moments, but Marpet is their best blocker, and I don't know. He did practice, so I'm going to assume he'll be back.
And how healthy is Donovan Smith? And the center that replaced the guy that got injured, how good is he? Chris Jones is your only rush. He's the only guy. Teams normally double him, and no one else can consistently get home beating one-on-one. So that's the problem that they have. You see, when you play Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd can get home, Rockers can get home,
pretty
Eckelbar.
good. Okay. But they're going to have to be real good. 0 sack game for them to have a shot. Yeah,
and you got to score. You got to score, and I think they will. But I like Tampa receivers against the Chiefs secondary. It's going to be a high-scoring game. If you think you're going to get 27-28, that ain't happening. This game will be north of 30, way in the 30s, maybe even north of 40.
All I know is I wouldn't bet a drop of Diet Dew on this
Not
game.
on this one. I hate you waited on this game to be your suicide pool.
Yep.
I want no part of this game.
Yes, no doubt it's going to be a great matchup and a fun one to watch. We'll get back to it later. But let's go back to last night's Cowboys game because Ezekiel Elliott had the worst rushing game of the season yesterday under the Thanksgiving spotlight. Now, Zeke only had 32 yards on the ground with no touchdowns and a fumble. The Cowboys running back wasn't any more productive as a receiver out of the backfield either, catching just 1 pass for 7 yards. So, Shannon, how concerned should the Cowboys be about Zeke's performance?
Skip, they should be very, very concerned. And I looked at that so many different angles and the way that Fox was showing it to us. I still don't know how he fumbled that ball. Nobody hit it.
He just lost the ball.
He was trying to stretch and the ball just came out. Because I thought somebody kicked it out, somebody punched it out. Because at first I thought his elbow had popped it out. Because that's what he was saying, like my elbow hit. And I'm like, bro, your elbow didn't hit.
Just lost the handle.
Skip, is concerning for on a lot of reasons. Zeke has starting to get a lot of mileage on his body. The 100-yard games, forget the average, the 100-yard games are coming with less frequency. And the ball is starting to come out with greater frequency. He has as many fumbles in 2020 as he had his entire career. And that's not a good thing. That's the one thing you don't want to have happen with a back, Skip. As a back starts to age, the ball starts to coming out. And he's 25. See, if I can see if the guy, Zeke is 30 years old, he's Frank Gore's age or something like that. Skip, Zeke is 25.
25.
He should not be having these types of fumbling problems.
By the way, to your point quickly, I watched the first game yesterday, and I'm watching Adrian Peterson.
Yes.
He's still afloat.
Yes.
He's still going. He looked like he was running harder and more effectively than Zeke did in the second game. Go ahead.
His longest run of the day was 8 yards. And he looked like, Skip, that after the bye week, he came off fresh. But the thing is that, Zeke, there are no more bye weeks. You don't run 1 week, get a week off, then run another week. And that's the thing that's starting to concern me, is that it starts to look like he's starting to wear down, that he can't bounce back, like he needs extra time in between. Now, Skip, he might be able to come next week, maybe an extra day. Maybe it was because you played Sunday, played a great game Sunday, and then had to come back Thursday.
Maybe.
And so maybe now with a full week off, and then you're going to have a 10 days off, before you play again, so he might bounce back over those. But I don't like what I'm seeing because I'm starting to see a guy that looks like his body has taken a lot of pounding, and the ball, Skip, is just like a quarterback. Anytime the quarterback gets touched, the ball comes out. That's concerning grip strength. It's also concerning when I started to see a running back, when people are not hitting and the ball's starting to come out. It's starting to concern me a little.
I'm not just concerned. I'm back to being horrified. This is the highest paid running back in pro football in total package, $90 million committed to him. And I realize you can do the offensive line excuses. No Ty Smith for all but 2 games. No Lyle Collins for the whole year. No Zach Martin against Washington either time except for a brief spell yesterday. And yet, Shannon, I keep telling you, eye test. I had a glimmer of hope at Minnesota. To your point, coming off the bye week, he had his first 100-yard game barely of the year. So that's 11 shots, 1 over 100. And yesterday was just flat out pathetic. And I'm horrified because my eye test keeps saying I can't recognize that guy that I saw in 2016 and 17. He was suspended, obviously, for 6 games in 17. Even in 2018, I saw a very different Zeke because in those 3 years, his yards per game led the National Football League. 109 his rookie year, then 98, then 96. Those will all work. And then he got his money, and a year ago, it fell to 85 yards a game, and now it's all the way down to 64 yards a game. And just to drive this home, his rookie year, he had 14 runs of 20-plus yards. Let's forget about the next year because he was gone for most of it. But then in 2018, he had 11 of 20-plus yards. So he went from 14 to 11. Then last year he had 4, and this year he has 1 total run of 20-plus yards. It's a bad sign. It's trending south. And in what was the game of the year for this team, on a stage that he has owned before because his rookie year, he jumped in the Salvation Army kettle. That's how great he was. And he dominated. He had 97 yards rushing on Thanksgiving against Washington the first year in 2016. Then it'd be 2 years ago, he had 121 yards against Washington. So he'd had 2 big games against Washington already, and then that happened. And to your point, it's insult to injury because he's fumbling, and he's fumbling at home. He's lost all 5 fumbles at home. So what have I seen from my bad football team this year? Just to your point that you opened the show with, my team with Dak Prescott at quarterback fell behind Atlanta at home 29-10 at halftime. Then fell behind Cleveland 41-14 early in the fourth quarter. Then fell behind the Giants in the second quarter 17-3. Then got run off their home field 38-10 by Kyler and company in Arizona. Then yesterday it wound up 41-16. Well, help me out. If you have a bell cow back, if you have a lead dog, if you have a back who can impose his will on the visiting team at home, you don't get blown out like this because you establish, you impose your will.
But Skip, Skip, I don't know about you, but I was watching the game yesterday, and I was like, wow, y'all throwing this ball an awful lot early. They came out throwing.
No trust. They just don't trust it because they don't see it. There are too many none-yard runs on first down that puts them in 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12.
But I thought you liked Pollard. They didn't even really run Pollard. They almost got trapped again on 4th down, Skip, with Pollard. If Pollard does not make a Houdini-esque play, they're going to get stopped on 4th down there.
Okay, where I first lost my mind yesterday was a play very late in the first quarter. It's like the last play of the first quarter. And Zeke took a little pass and ran for a little bit more, if we could see this. And he came up a yard short of the first down. Do you remember this? Okay, little pass, and he's a yard short. He got tackled very easily. And he gets up and waves to the sideline, I need a blow. I need out. He takes himself out of the game on a little pop pass and an easy tackle. It's 3rd and 1. Isn't this where our man Eric Dickerson says, I want the football?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't this where Jim Brown or Walter Payton?
You should want the football. You should.
Right?
Oh, it's 31. Oh, they're going to come to me.
3rd and 1, it's my turn.
Yeah, it's my
right?
time. Let me go get this first.
This is my down.
Right.
I own this down.
Yeah.
He waves to the sideline and takes himself out. How many times have we seen that over the last 2 years? Way too many times. So he leaves Tony Pollard to rush onto the field. I'm in. Yeah, you're in, and we're calling your number. And Tony Pollard made an extraordinary run because he goes up into the line and hits a stone wall and bounces it and had to run like 20 yards to get 1 yard and cut it up right at the marker and made it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Zeke. Then we get to 4th and 1 at the 35-yard line, right?
Yeah.
And this is a turning point in the game. It's still a tie game. And what happens on that play? They don't go to Zeke. And it shows you they don't trust him. Yeah. And what did, I'm sorry, it wasn't at the 35, but it started in the playoff game, remember?
Yeah.
2 years ago out here,
Yeah.
it was 4th and 1. That was from the Rams' 35-yard line. And remember, there was a quarter break because it went to the 4th quarter, and they had a whole, 5 minutes to figure out what are we going to do to get the yard.
Right.
It's against Aaron Donald, and at that point, Ndamukong Suh, because they were the two tackles, and the Rams. This is a crucial moment in the game. They're still in the game, and they run Zeke right up the gut. There was no creativity. They just said, you do it. Run through the brick wall, and he got 0, right? And that started the fall of Ezekiel Elliott. So to me, Jerry Jones today has to be sitting back once again saying, man, I think I blew it. I think I way overpaid him because we're paying this man $15 million a year to be what? He's 17th ranked now in yards per game. He's 32nd among running backs in yards per play. Well, it's not good enough if you're paying him $90 million.
Well, Skip, I don't really know what they can do. I mean, if they cut him, that's 24. If they cut him after the season, that's $24.5 million in dead cap. 10.8 in 2022, 6.7 in 2023.
Okay.
So what do? You invite him in and say, Zeke, we need you to take a reduction?
That's what you're going to have to do because there's that accelerator clause next March, which actually guarantees 2022, 16 more million.
That ain't happening.
And they can't do it.
No, that's not happening.
But at some point, you might have to just sit back and say, we just got to cut our loss. We got to figure this out.
You just got to bite
this bullet because I don't know where you're going because you could save some. If you cut him after the season, I'm talking about cutting him loose, you're going to take that big hit.
Yes.
But aren't you going to take an even bigger hit if you keep getting this lack of production from him?
I don't think you can. I'm not going to say anything because we've seen teams cut. If they want you up out of there, they'll eat they'll eat that money.
They will eat.
Skip, here's the thing. This is all I'm going to say to Zeke. Zeke, I don't know what you do. I don't know how serious you take your training. I don't know how serious you take your eating or whatever you're doing. But, bro, whatever you're doing is not working. And as you age, Skip, we got to be more. I'm not saying you got to train harder. You got to train smarter. But for whatever reason, Zeke does not look like the same guy. If Zeke was 30, I could get it at the running back position. But not at 25. Not at 25.
At 25, you can't turn from halfback into fullback.
No.
And he looks like a fullback now.
Skip, as a matter of fact, they were on 3rd and 1. They put him at the fullback and handed the ball to him. I'm like, well, who is that? And then he gets up off the ground. I said, that's Zeke.
Yeah, and it worked, actually.
I'm like, Skip.
Because he didn't have as far to go to hit the hole.
Let that sink in. You think they would have ever put Emmitt Smith at fullback and put Sherman Williams at running back? No. Hell no.
No.
So that should tell you, bruh.
This is really scary.
It is.
He's now averaging 61 yards a game at home. He's been much worse at home than even on the road. So I don't get it. I will give him this. I thought his weight looked a little better yesterday. He looked a little sleeker, but he does not look quicker.
No.
No mercy.
Despite many writing off Tom Brady after his poor primetime performances, the Chiefs aren't taking the 43-year-old Tom Brady lightly ahead of their matchup on Sunday. After watching film, Kansas City safety Tyrann Mathieu said, quote, I see the greatest quarterback of all time. Andy Reid also chimed in calling Brady, quote, unbelievable. So Shannon, I'll ask you, is Tom Brady finished?
No, he's not finished. But Tom Brady is now in that tier of quarterbacks that needs things to to go really, really well for him to be successful. I think that, no, people don't fear Tom Brady because there are not very many quarterbacks that have at least 4 guys on their roster that's gone to Pro Bowl at the skill position. Mike Evans has been a Pro Bowl player. Chris Godwin has gone to the Pro Bowl. Gronk has gone to the Pro Bowl. Antonio Brown has gone to the Pro Bowl. I dare you to find 4 quarterbacks that's currently playing in the NFL that has more weapons than Tom Brady.
Well, I'll throw in Fournette. And remember, there's this guy named LaShawn McCoy who's in the doghouse right now.
Right.
Like, they don't even play him.
Right.
But he is out there, healthy, ready to go, I think.
Right. So, Skip, Tom now is a guy that needs help. Things need to be well. The days of Tom Brady doing more with less are over. The days of Tom Brady, I ain't got a running game. Tom Brady's just going to throw me to victory. Those days are over. But he can still play, but things need to go really, really well for him to play. He needs a running game. He needs max protection. You can't have people scraping and digging at his feet. That's all. That's it. The days of him doing what Mahomes can do or Aaron Rodgers can do, those days are over. When he was the guy, well, that guy can't do what Brady does. Brady ain't got no running game. And you and I both know, if he was in New England with the weapons that they got in New England, nobody would be fearing Tom Brady. But because he still has Mike Evans, he still has those guys that can go make plays, of course, he is to be feared. He is to be respected. And that's not enough. Look, Skip, he's been at the top of the food chain for how long? Basically since, even the first Super Bowl, Skip, I wouldn't say he was an elite quarterback. I wouldn't say he was Peyton Manning back then. But for the last, 15 years, he's been at the top of the food chain.
We'll start with the second Super Bowl, because that was pretty sensational.
So with that being said, Skip, that's not a knock. But as we just need things to be more in place for us to have success or the same levels of success. Things need to go well. And if things go well, he plays great. If things don't go well,
You realize there are a bunch of quarterbacks in this league that when things do go well, they still don't play well, right?
Well, if you give them those guys, how many of those guys got a Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Gronk? When things don't go well, they still don't. When things go well, they don't play well.
You're now saying Tom Brady is a dime a dozen? Like you can mix and match any of those average quarterbacks and they could all do what
There
Brady's
is a
doing?
reason why Tom Brady chose Tampa. Tampa didn't choose him. He chose them. Now tell the people why. Because he knew what they have. Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. That's why. He could have stayed his butt in Tampa. Excuse me. He could have stayed his butt in New England, but he knew they didn't have it. No, he couldn't. Coach Belichick said, you got to get up out of here.
I believe that's what happened. So it is amusing to me. You are showing or displaying more fear of Tom Brady today than you did last Tuesday when you basically wrote him off and said he's finished.
No, Skip. Look, I've always said this, Skip. The days Tom Brady, right now, Tom is doing less with more, as opposed to being the picture in the dictionary, nobody does more with less. He has more than he's ever had, and he doesn't look, you saw the 4 games? Tom Brady, when have you ever seen Tom Brady look like that, Skip? In all your years of watching, the games against New Orleans, the game against Chicago, the game last week, when have we ever seen Tom Brady look like this?
I've seen a couple of playoff games when he's looked like that. Rex Ryan's Jets made him look like that. The Baltimore Ravens made him look like that, even in a home game. And I thought the Rams made him look pretty shaky for a while until he pulled off the game-winning drive.
Think about that. That was one game in a season. We've seen 4 of those games this year.
But what else have we seen? In 6 of their 7 wins, Tom Brady has 19 touchdown passes to 1 interception.
Right.
He has a QBR in those 6 wins out of 7 of 90. I dare you to go find somebody else this side of Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or the top Russell Wilson who can do that.
In those 6 games, how many yards does Ro Jones have running? How many yards does Leonard Fournette have running? That's my point, Skip. When things go well, can they run it?
How well did they go when they fell down 24-7 to the Los Angeles Chargers? That was Tom Brady at his greatest in the second half, leading another one of those stunning comebacks that he has orchestrated so many times. He threw for 263 just in the second half, 15 of 17, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. That was not a runner's game. That was a thrower's game, and he outthrew the kid who shell-shocked them with 3 touchdown passes in the first half, Justin Herbert. So he's had these masterpieces at Las Vegas against Derek Carr. he was just off. He threw for 369, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. At Carolina, when I thought they were in trouble because Teddy Bridgewater had outplayed Patrick Mahomes just the week before at Kansas City, he throws for 341, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. He always has needed protection because he's not the most mobile quarterback. He has great pocket feet, but he's not going to escape and hurt you with his legs. We know that. So he needs a semblance of protection, which, to Belichick's credit, they always gave him, thanks to the great Dante Scarnecchia, a great offensive line coach who retired before last year when the protection started to break down. He was always pretty good there. But I submit to you, he did more with less because it was easier to do more with less in New England. In New England, basically, his thought process at the snap was, I'm either going to find Jules, as in Julian Edelman, on an option route underneath, or maybe it's Gronk on a little deeper route, or probably it's James White on a swing pass. And it's like bing, 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 right? And the ball is gone quickly, and he stays clean, he stays upright, he stays healthy, and they pick you to pieces. All of a sudden, he had too much of a good thing, and it was his fault in Tampa Bay because they got to 6-2 with all those weapons that you raved about, and they all fell into place. He figured them out. He got them in sync and in rhythm, and he had a pecking order of, I can go here, 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 and here. I'll keep everybody relatively happy, and we will win games. And I thought they were off and running, and so did you at that point because the defense was backing up the offense. All of a sudden, something happened. Another shell shocker to me. He goes out and says, I want Antonio Brown. I love this young man. I want him here, baggage or no baggage. And Bruce Arians had already dug in and say he does not fit in our locker room. And I believe that he got his wrist slapped. Bruce Arians got his wrist slapped by the GM.
Todd Light. Jason Light, excuse me.
Love Todd Light, too. He really go. But Jason Light said, no, sorry. Tom wants him. Let's do it. Tom believes this could be the final piece to a Super Bowl puzzle. But it's at midstream, and you're forcing in a huge personality into the receiving room, number one, and into the huddle, number two. And so far, not so good. It worked okay at Carolina in the middle game, but these two other primetime games, New Orleans and Rams, did not work because Brady's having a hard time processing all this quickly enough. It's too many options. Where do you go? And if you're going to flip it to the back better be able to catch it, and the backs couldn't catch it against the Rams.
The clip that you showed the year they went to and won the Super Bowl, you showed the clip of them playing the Chargers. And Joey Bosa says, I can't get there. He's getting rid of the ball too quick. What was he doing?
He complained to Brady about it.
There was no throws down the field. Now you're asking him.
And by the way, the numbers at the end of that game, he was 350 in that game.
With only like 4 incompletions. But the difference is, Skip, in order to get the ball down the field, you're going to have to stand in there, and you're going to probably have to take a few to the chops.
Okay, I got it. So I want people to be educated on this. He's getting crushed right now because he's 1 for his last 19 on 20-plus yard throws in an offense built around no risk it, no biscuit. Bruce Arians wants to throw home runs. And for the first 8 games, Tom Brady said, I'm good with this. I don't think he's lost an ounce of arm strength because in those first 8 games, he went 17 of 39 on 20-plus yard throws. That's close to 50%. That led the league. 17 led the league through 8 games. The yardage was 583. It led the NFL through 8 games. But all of a sudden, you put Antonio Brown in there. And all of a sudden, you're saying, can we get him deep? And he made the one throw the other night against the Rams that would have brought the house down right off Antonio's fingertips in the third quarter. That's what's happening right now. They're just a little bit off. And I'm sure, to your point, Mike Evans is a little bit not happy.
A little ticked off.
A little ticked off. And Chris Godwin's probably saying, am I chopped liver over here? And Gronk is probably saying, man, he's throwing to Cameron Braid a whole lot. What about me? What about your soulmate? What about your boy, right?
But here's the thing, though, Skip. Now, I'm tired of you making Tom Brady out to be Goldilocks. Papa Bear bed is too hard. Well, he ain't got enough talent in New England. Well, he got too much. He Mama Bear. He got too much talent in Tampa. I need him to find someplace that's just right. What's the ideal situation for Goldilocks then, please, sir?
okay? The idea will be if they can figure out where everybody fits in an overloaded offense.
So
you can have too much of a good thing.
Oh.
You can have too many weapons.
You see what you did there, Skip? Now, if this thing start getting better, he ain't got too much talent. But right now, because it's sideways, he got too much.
How much less time to throw do you think he had against New Orleans and the Rams? Is it a second less? Is it a second and a half? Because that's like an hour less, right?
Well, I think the thing is, Skip, is that, look, you know Tom wants the ball to come out quick. He doesn't want to get those hits. So, look, I just want you to clutch it one time. I'm going to press someone.
Yep.
I would have just played, I'm just different coverages from cover 5. I ain't going to give him a whole cover 5, 22, something like that, because I ain't worried about Tom going anywhere. Okay. Tom ain't running.
And what happened right on cue as Antonio Brown entered, Ali Marpet is by far his best blocker. He is the Zach Martin of the Tampa offensive line. And he got concussed, and he's missed 3 games now, and I think he'll play on Sunday. But I'm not sure about that. But if he does, it will all re-solidify against the pass rush. And to your point, the Kansas City rush won't be nearly as fierce and furious as New Orleans or the Rams.
Or Chicago.
Right.
So think about that. Pressure equals wins against Tampa.
So do you think Tom Brady should go home after this season?
With those weapons, he ain't going home.
Thank you.
If he was in New England, he'd go home.
Yeah.
He would go home. But like I said, he's in that tier. The days of him being up there with Russ and Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun and my homeboy, that's tier 1, where things are going, things don't gotta be great.
All the numbers, all the websites, all the third-level stats say he's still top tier.
Eyes. Well, what the eyes tell you? I don't know about the website, but what the eyes tell you?
Body of work.
Well, no. We're talking about 2020. Ooh. We ain't talking about anything that happened prior to 2020. Yeah. I know what you try to do. He's with the 9 Super Bowls. He's won 6 with 6 game-winning drives. How many game-winning drives he got this year?
I believe the GOAT is just getting started in Tampa Bay.
I just asked you a simple question. How many game-winning drives?
Well, he's got them to, what are they, 7-4? That's pretty good.
How many game-winning drives?
They were 7-9 last year.
Okay.
Okay.
And he's been looking like Jameis throwing the ball to the other team, hasn't he?
Not that bad, but hasn't been great.
Okay. My guy got
Skip, I'm with you on this one, and just because it's the Tom Brady, I think he's going to figure it out. It's Tom.
He better.
No mercy.
With the game tied yesterday, the Cowboys failed on a 4th and inches pass play from their own 34 that led to a Washington touchdown just 5 plays later. And early in the 4th quarter, Dallas still found themselves in the game, down only 20-16, but failed on a fake punt attempt from their own 24-yard line. The very next play, Antonio Gibson waltzed in for a touchdown that seemed to open the floodgates. So, Shannon, which 4th down decision was worse?
Well, Skip, it's like asking the question, which is heavier, a ton of bricks or a ton of feathers? Well, a ton of bricks and a ton of feathers, they're one and the same. Just because they're feathers and one bricks doesn't mean anything. They're still a ton. Skip, let's start with the first one, Skip. It's 4th down. You're in the 2nd quarter. The score is 10-10. 10-10. Why would you Skip, just punt the ball and play defense? Because what you just did, what you just told your defense, you said, come here, guys, huddle up. I don't trust you. You call your whole team up, and you tell your team, hey, guys, offense, I don't trust the defense. So I want you guys to go for it. They're like, Coach, we're on our own 34. I know we're on our own 34, but I don't trust those guys. So I need you to go get the 1st down to keep those guys off the field.
Okay, remember, it's 1 foot that you need.
Yes!
Are you also going to tell your offense, I don't trust you to get 1 foot?
Skip, at that situation, I don't believe the analytics says in that situation, at that time of the ball game, that's the move to make. Because basically what you've done, even if they don't move the ball up, you're in field goal range. And then on top of that, you say this tight end lost his mind and jumps on top of the guy.
Lost his mind. I don't know what happened.
And it goes
a Stanford guy.
It goes from the 34-yard line, Skip, down to the 19.
Yep.
So you're definitely in field goal range now. And then like 3 or 4 plays later, he's in the end zone.
Yep.
The second one, Skip. Now, it's 20-15, 12-21 left in the ball game. Now, the 2 previous possessions, you had gone 3 and out and a pick. That's what your defense had done. And you say, hey, I think we ought to fake punt it here. But it's 4th and 10. Oh, we'll catch him by surprise. Okay, what's the call? Well, what we're going to do, we're going to flip it back to Cedric Wilson. He's going to bubble back about 10, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and we're going to try to put the guy in a high-low situation. We'll run one guy to the 7, and we'll bring what you call... Really, Skip? You thought that Mike McCarthy, you signed up on that? John Fossil, I've known you since you're probably 10.
Because his father was?
He was my offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Jim Fossil. Really built the offense around me, so a lot of credit that you see that I became, the player that I became because of his dad.
John Bones Fossil is the special teams coach now of the Cowboys.
Yes.
Okay.
I think sometimes, Skip, we play to our reputation. He has a reputation. Remember the throwback pass? He threw, even when he was with the Rams, he beat Seattle on a very similar play.
He did.
He did this against the Cowboys. Had a play where they threw it back. The guy pretended like, oh, I'm my hamstring. And he jogged out the field. They throw it back across the field, and he run it down. Bruh, there's a time and a place. This wasn't a time and a place that you bring that play to your head coach and say, let's do this. Mike McCarthy, at the end of the day, you're culpable for this because you had to have signed off on it. Just like I don't blame the offensive coordinator for calling it. Darrell Bevel was the offensive coordinator that called it. But Pete Carroll had to sign off on it. Mike McCarthy, why would you do this? Skip, that's horrible coaching. I get it. The defense isn't very good, but they had played good the last 2 possessions, and there was no reason. Now, if Washington had gone down the field both times, maybe. But Skip, in that situation, that far backed up, I'm not going. Some guys like Coach Belichick, the difference between Coach Belichick and a lot of coaches, he understands situations. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy understood the situation, but you overvalued his coaching prowess because he had 2 historically great quarterbacks, and you thought he was a great coach.
And he has a Super Bowl.
Thanks to Aaron Rodgers. Thanks to my guy.
Well, at least Mike McCarthy didn't screw it up that year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Since you won't pick a side on this, you're 50-50 bricks and feathers.
Yes.
I will tell you, for me, as a lifelong Cowboy fan, the fake punt was 100 times worse than the 4th and a foot decision to go for it. The 4th and a foot was just a foot. And again, I like telling my offense, I trust you, even against that front with 5 first-round picks in the rotation.
Why would you?
Because I can get a foot.
But you say you don't trust Zeke.
I don't, but I trust Andy Dalton to make a throw to an open receiver. He's very accurate and very poised in the pocket. And you know and I know there's not going to be a lot of pass rush on that team because it's going to be hold that line.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of elephant warfare, a lot of helmet to helmet, a lot of grunting and groaning. And Andy is going to have a second longer to throw it to a probably open receiver who is almost certainly going to be single covered. And it was CeeDee Lamb on Ronald Darby, who they'd already picked on for a 54-yard touchdown.
Well, but who were they picking on him with? Coop.
CeeDee Lamb. They did with Coop.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, put Coop over there.
Okay, maybe they thought Coop would draw a little more attention since he is obviously the number 1 receiver and he just burned them already. But CeeDee Lamb is their big playmaker on 4th and short. He's so physical that he can wall off, he can screen off a defender a little better because he's just a bigger, stronger kid, okay? So he made the correct play. They made the correct decision to throw. Darby played it great, but he played it way too well because he got there way too early, and he tackled him before the ball got there.
Let me ask you a question.
It should have been a flag, and it should have been converted.
Skip, if you're a DB, it's 4th and inches. You think they're going to run a 5-yard stop route, or you think they're running a go?
Well, again, just me, if you're going to gamble on the foot, I would gamble on the go. Because the go probably has a shot to be way open.
It has a better shot of being open, but guess what?
I agree.
But they know you're not going to do that.
Okay, but every once in a while, I see somebody just go for broke on in that situation and hit one.
Oh, they do.
And I would have been I would have been rolling on the floor if he had hit that for a touchdown.
Skip, let me tell you what Terrell Buckley,
yep.
He said, and they asked him, man,
he's a cornerback.
He was a cornerback.
Yep.
He gambled a lot.
Oh, did he?
He said, well, they asked him, they said, well, why do you pick so many of these short passes off? He said there are more slants and stop routes than go routes in the playbook.
That is true.
So guess what?
No, that's a good point. But you are going to get burned.
You gonna give it up.
Okay, now let's go to the 4th down. It was simply the single dumbest play selection on a fake punt I have ever seen in all my too many years of watching professional football. I still can't process how stupid even the idea of it was, because I'm going to go you one better on what you said about the previous two series, the defense. Let's go through the whole second half. What happened as the half opened? Zeke fumbled and gave him the ball at the Dallas 33-yard line. They get stuffed and stopped and held to a field goal on a short field to hold the Washington offense the way it had been going in the first half to a field goal. Isn't that a win for the Dallas defense? And then after that, they pick off and return an interception of Alex Smith. Jalen Smith obviously got all the way down to the 4. So you're doing something good. You actually forced a rare turnover.
Right.
So you're feeling pretty good, because then you come right back out and you make them punt.
3 and out.
Okay, so those are the 3 Washington possessions so far in the second half, most of them obviously in the third quarter. Field goal on a short field, interception return to the 4, and punt. Okay, your defense has started to settle in and started to lock down and figure it out, right?
Right.
It is starting to play the way it played against Minnesota and even against the Steelers. It's starting to look like a real live defense.
Right.
You're 4th and 10 at your 24. If you were 4th and 3, I'd say, well, okay, I got it. But you better have a play.
Yeah.
And it better happen fast, because the only way fake punts work is by surprise attack.
Right.
You catch the punt return unit completely off guard, because they're not ready for this trick play that happens like electricity. You know, it's just like, and it just happens. And it usually requires a replay to say, how did they do that? It's usually a snap to the up back, right?
Right.
And maybe he runs it for 5 yards.
Right.
But you only need 4, so you go for 5.
Or you get a situation, Skip, you see what happened in the Rams game against Tampa, where the guy, they snap it to the punter raises up and throws it to the guy because he caught the guy trying to do something sneaky.
Okay.
But the bubble 15 yards back.
So you run a reverse play, and I don't know how much they had practiced this play, because it looked like they'd never practiced it, because Cedric Wilson loops so deep into the backfield. He is running the wrong way for 15 yards. He's running. It's actually 14. He was 14. He was 4 yards beyond where the punter was going to receive the snap. Okay? And the snap goes to the up back, Darian Thompson, who immediately flips it to Cedric Wilson, a former high school quarterback at White Station High School in Memphis, Tennessee, went to Boise State. He is running backward. That's what horrified me. He's going the wrong way. You have to cut that short where you force the defense to make a play. He's going so deep, the defense has plenty of time to say, aha, that's what you're going to do.
Skip, if you look at 47, the way he plays, if you set up a fake, Skip, you got to have the guy do the same thing every single time. So 47 says, hold on, I didn't even block him. And he ran up in there. Why would he do that? Because every other time he tried to release outside.
Okay, so he's the gunner, C.J. Goodwin, and he runs a pass route. Clearly, he is cutting up inside.
Right. And so you see Hudson, he takes one step, he's like, nah, this don't smell right.
It didn't smell right. Okay? All right. And here comes the punter, who's only been there for 3 weeks.
Right.
Hunter, what's his name? Nusswinder, I'll get it right.
Yeah.
But he's 6'5", 243. That's what he's listed. So I think the idea was he's going to run a little out route like a tight end, and you're going to throw it to him or to Goodwin.
Right.
Goodwin was open, but the problem was that Cedric Wilson turns, and he's so deep, he loses track of where he is, and he never even stops to throw the football. If he had raised up and thrown it to the punter, and the punter had made 10 yards, I'd say, okay, you got me. But what are the odds that Cedric Wilson's going to put his head down and run for the equivalent of 25 yards?
He ain't get that.
You're not going to get it.
And then Skip, once he saw the guys there, he forgot, like, man, I got a high-low situation. Because like you said, Godwin was open. But because he saw the guy, because Skip, he's taught, okay, but you got to pretend like you're going to run it. So put your head down and take off. And by the time he looked up and saw those guys, like, oh, man. He forgot all about Godwin had to run the 7 route deep because he had a high-low situation with Godwin and the punter.
He did.
But he forgot, Skip.
And then he puts his head down and actually made a very good run to get to a 1-yard loss because he had to cover 13 yards of turf just to get to -1. And that's game over because the defense comes out and they completely give up on the next play. And Antonio Gibson goes 23 untouched yards, boom, touchdown.
If Jerry Jones hadn't given Mike McCarthy a 5-year deal, he would probably fire. This would skip this punt return, this fake punt on 4th and 10 from your own 24-yard line is the equivalent of Lane Kiffin trying to kick a 72-yard field goal.
Yeah.
You know good well, Skip, Janikowski ain't gonna make
no.
That was him just saying, Al, forget you. I don't care.
That's true. So Jerry Jones, sitting up in his box yesterday, had 2 masks on, one here, but one kind of under his chin. And I was thinking at that point he would want to take one of the masks and put it up over his eyes, right?
Yeah, well, he said, Mike McCarthy had a mask because he robbed me. He had me thinking that he was a good coach, and I gave him a bunch of money. Skip,
right.
That was awful.
That was
If you
awful.
was on TV, I bet you had to throw up your whole meal.
No mercy.
Reigning Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes finds himself as a favorite over Tom Brady and the Buccaneers on Sunday. Now, this will be the 4th time these 2 quarterbacks have met, with Brady having the 2-1 edge. We're now joined by Fox Sports NFL analyst Michael Vick. Michael, who wins, Kansas City or Tampa?
Kansas City wins, and for various reasons. But while I feel like Tampa's still trying to figure it out on offense, and they got it on defense a little bit. That's not going to suffice right now. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to come into the game with some structure. And their structure is allow Patrick to be Patrick and run the football effectively. And Andy's in the business of working smarter, not harder these days, and got the best quarterback in the world, best quarterback on the planet. And he said, I'm going to build an offensive run game around him that's going to be stout, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off him and allow Patrick to just do what he do. And it's been showing up for the last couple of weeks, and it's going to show up on Sunday. And I think for that reason alone, they have a much better chance at beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on the road and, in a situation where, it's a big game for them. So, I just think Andy's in the business of doing it the right way, making the game easier for Patrick. And Kelsey's going to show up. Tyreek's going to show up. McCall Hardman's going to show up. Le'Veon Bell and all the rest of the guys. And, on both sides of the ball for Kansas City, they can get it done, and they've shown it and proven it over and over again. And I just don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in a position right now to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in 4 quarters of football.
So before we go, Michael, what's your score, just so we know how much do you believe this is going to be Kansas City's game?
31-20.
Okay, got it. Fire away.
Man, please. If that's all the points, somebody might get those combined numbers by themselves. You know what? This game is very important for the Chiefs because I'm afraid, Skip, if they lose this game, they're not catching Pittsburgh. I don't know. You look at Pittsburgh's schedule, Skip, they might go 16-0 in the regular season. Considering what just transpired with the Baltimore Ravens and losing Lamar, there's a good chance they go undefeated in the regular season.
I'll buy that.
There's only 1 game separation right now. So you lose this game now because there's only 1 team that gets to bye. So it's
possible this game is not even going to get played.
Right. Okay. So, Skip, when I look at this, Mahomes is just on another level. And the offense is crystal clear. Kelsey, Tyreek, and then everybody else gets scraps. I'm not trying to make sure McCall Hardman is happy.
Nope.
I'm not trying to make sure Robinson is happy.
And by the way, I think Sammy Watkins will return for this game, but I don't think he'll be a big factor.
Right. Okay. And that's what you watch them. They're like, okay, they started the game, like the first 4 or 5 passes went to Tyreek. And then all of a sudden they tried to roll the coverage to Tyreek, and now Travis Kelce gets to work one-on-one. And the thing is, you can't give Kelce a steady diet of anything. Any of these great tight ends, the Raiders were like, we're going to press him. He's too big for you to press. You got to press sometimes. You got to play off. You got to quick jam him. You got to just give him a lot of different looks because once he knows that you're going to press him, he's going to play through your jam.
Yep.
Skip, Tampa has one thing going in their favor. Kansas City doesn't really pressure the quarterback like the games in which they've lost. Teams can get after your quarterback. The Saints can get after your quarterback. The Rams can get after your quarterback. Chicago can. That's really not what the Chiefs do. The Chiefs are built to play one-way, Skip, get a lead, and then we can pressure. We don't have to worry about the run because you 14, 17 points behind. But what teams have been able to do is that run the ball, control the clock. We're going to take it down to under 10, so we're going to minimize Patrick Mahomes' possession, and then we're going to try to win this game. We're going to try to win it late in the fourth quarter. That's how the Raiders beat them. The Raiders took it down late, and guess what? They ended up beating them. I got the score 41-38. But, Mike, let me tell you this. If I come in here on Monday and Tampa won this game, I'm not going to be shocked because I have no faith in Kansas City's defense. I have no faith in Tampa's defense. So that's why I'm predicting the score is going to go north of 30s. It's going north of the 30s.
You want to respond, Michael?
Yeah. I mean, the way the Tampa Bay offenses look, 38 points is far-fetched right now. Like I said, they really don't have structure within the offense. You know, they got to find some identity. They got to figure out how are we going to come into a game and beat teams and play 4 quarters of consistent football. It just hasn't shown up. So until I see that, I can't give them the benefit of the doubt. Until I see more consistency, I can't give them the benefit of the doubt. But what I do know is that Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick. And Andy's first 15 plays is always amazing. And then the next 15 plays after that is even better. So that's where they get you. They know what they're going to do. They come into a game with a plan, and it's always a good plan. I used to be super excited for the first 15 plays, knowing that we was going to score in our first possession just because of what was on that call sheet alone. And then what was after that became impromptu. And then that allows you to go play ball. But the entire script in terms of offense with Andy Reid is filled with a bunch of plays that can score at any moment of the game, and combined with a new run game, a newfound run game. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat this team. They're going to score a lot of points, and I just don't know if the Bucs defense can sustain for 4 quarters with this offense.
The reason I am so fearful of everything Michael Vick just said is that he obviously played for Andy Reid, and he knows what that script looks like. And I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is salivating at the opportunity to execute that script and then execute the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I can only imagine what that looked like.
Yep. Okay, so here's my gut feeling. My heart says Brady, 38-35, and I'm going to roll with my heart. I'm going to stick with it. But my head is screaming back at my heart, time out, because it feels like, it smells like Patrick Mahomes is going to put up at least, I got 42, you got 41, and it feels like 42-38. And maybe, as Michael Vick suggests, I'm giving Brady and the offense way too much credit. But as Shannon keeps pointing out, if you do keep Brady clean, he can still play and score at a high level. We've seen it happen again and again, even this year in Tampa Bay. We saw what he did at Carolina. We saw what he did at Las Vegas. We saw what he did to the Chargers after they were up 24-7. If you can't get any heat on him, he will pick you apart to pieces. And that will be short and long occasionally, because there's some no risk it, no biscuit throws, especially in the first half of this season when they got to 6-2. My problem is, as they arrived at 6-2, 2 things didn't arrive with them. Number one, the defense didn't come along for the ride, because against New Orleans and then against the Rams in 2 home primetime games, the defense was horrendously bad, pathetically bad, shockingly bad. I'm a big Todd Bowles fan, but nothing worked. They never even slowed down Drew Brees, and he had 420 yards of offense. They never really slowed down Jared Goff and obviously Sean McVay's play calling, because they had 413 yards of offense. What does Todd Bowles do at his very best? He blitzes you silly. And what does Patrick Mahomes do at the highest level? He beats blitzes. He eats them for lunch and dinner. His QBR against blitzes this year is 98. Patrick Mahomes, 98. That means he's barely missed a throw against a blitz. So is Todd Bowles going to say, I do what I do? Or is he going to just sit back and say, I guess we got to go slow death here and just hope he doesn't pick us to pieces? I don't know. And by the way, Jamel Dean, I know he's young, but he's been a playmaker for them. He was the one who picked off Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Pick sixed him. Did he have the pick? I think he did.
He did.
He had the pick six. The point is, he's out with a concussion, and they haven't listed him completely out, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to play because he didn't practice all week. So now you're down a starting corner against Patrick Mahomes, and you know Patrick's going to want to put on a show against the GOAT because they got like a friendly rivalry going.
Of course.
Okay, I got it. So do I love this? I wouldn't bet one drop of Diet Mountain Dew on this game because I'm going to watch it with one eye closed because I think it's going to be high scoring and crazy. And if Michael's right, remember the over-under is 56.5.
Yeah.
So Michael's got it going under the
No, ain't no way.
Wow.
I mean, because Patrick Mahomes is capable of getting 50 by himself.
He's capable.
I do see it being a tough. I mean, I see it being a good game. I see it being a closer game than what you guys may think. But at the end of the day, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can't generate offense, and it's a lot of 3-and-outs, and they give Patrick Mahomes a lot of opportunity to score touchdowns, then those touchdowns will be scored. And, you know, while I do feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense has performed at times this year, there's been a lot of 3-and-outs on the other side of the ball, and those guys, they get tired. You know, they play emotional football as well, and, you know, it's easy, you know, to feel like things are not going well when they really aren't.
Yeah.
And then that changes your whole perspective of the game and how you approach it. So it's got to be even Steven on both sides, man. They got to have offense and defense. They got to complement one another.
Yeah. Michael, one last question before we go for you.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, how difficult would it be to try to blend in an Antonio Brown into a flow that was working at 6-2 with 2 Pro Bowl wideouts and Gronk and Cameron Brate and 2 backs who can catch it? How tough would it be to force fit him into that flow?
It's not tough at all to force him into the flow. Antonio just got to understand, you know, what the play calls will be for him, and it might be limited. It might not be the play calls that he wants. It might not be a lot of downfield throws. Intermediate stuff is where I think Antonio thrives. And he's got to lean on that and not try to do too much. So keep it simple, you know, and it's got to be collective and team effort all the way through for this team, and no egos, you know, as far as moving forward. That's what's going to lead to the success of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, they know, Tom Brady knows that if I don't get the ball to Antonio early, I'm going to lose him. He's too emotional. If you think about it, when he comes into the game, Skip, what do? They throw him the ball almost immediately.
They do.
Because Tom knows he's too emotional, and if I don't get him the ball early, I'm going to lose him.
Or he's going to make big trouble.
Tom too old and too accomplished to be thinking that way.
Well, you ain't thinking that way.
No mercy.
Sunday, MVP candidate Kyler Murray leads the Cardinals against Cam Newton and the Patriots, or the Giants take on the Bengals, or other regional action. Check local listings for the game in your area. All part of the Fox Football Feast. Now, the Cowboys let their Thanksgiving game get away from them when Washington took a 17-10 lead and never looked back. Washington went on to a 26-6 run and walked away with a decisive 41-16 victory to take the lead in the NFC East. Now, Michael Vick is still with us. Michael, what was the biggest reason for the Cowboys' loss?
Well, it's obvious. It was the failed 4th down conversions, man. And, you know, I will have to say this. It was deflating. It was deflating for all. It was deflating for me, myself on the couch. And I know for the rest of the world and, you know, the Cowboys nation who was watching this play. I guarantee you, if it was a packed house and there was fans in the stands, Mike McCarthy would have never made that call on that fake punt. You know, I can understand the 4th and 1, you know, to a certain degree, you know, but, you know, to leave the team backed up, you know, after they've been playing so well, playing with a lot of confidence and some bravado, you know, they were showing a lot. They was fighting. And, you know, I felt like they was being really competitive and they was in the game. But for that to happen in those moments and to give away the short field that they did, you know, it's saying a lot about how you feel about your team. And you know, I just felt like it was a thirsty move. You know, they didn't have to do that. They could have continued to play competitive football, you know, in between the hashes and let the game play itself out. I felt like they jumped the gun and they was in desperation mode for whatever reason. But it was very, you know, premature. They shouldn't have did it. And it was a questionable call, two questionable calls. And to this day, I mean, as of right now, I just don't understand why those calls were made put the team in a bad situation.
Well, I don't know what y'all. I was watching a different game because it wasn't deflating for me. It got me up off my couch. I had me pumping. I was a geek. I don't know what y'all was deflated for. I was happy. Let me tell you why they lost, Michael Vick. They're a bad football team. Bad football team plays bad. Bad football team. The players do dumb things and coaches make dumb decisions. This is why. If I ask you, Michael, what do the Cowboys do really well? What are you going to tell me?
Man.
Exactly. Hold on, Skip. Now, the quarterbacks that they've gone against have thrown 25 touchdowns with 4 interceptions. So every quarterback they play look like Patrick Mahomes. Okay, what about do they stop the run? 307 to Cleveland, 240 to Arizona, 208 to another team, 182 yesterday, 125 last week to Minnesota. So they don't stop the run.
208 was to Washington.
Yeah, 208 to Washington. Yeah, to Washington. And gave up another 182 yesterday to Washington.
Yep.
So, okay, they don't stop the run. They gave up 25 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, so they're not good against the pass. Well, what about offensively? Do they run the ball well? They've got one 100-yard rusher this year. No. What about passing? They got a bunch of guys that they talent. Well, we're going to have 3 1,000-yard receivers. That's all I heard. 3 1,000-yard receivers. So you don't protect the quarterback. The quarterback doesn't throw the ball to the wide receivers when they are open. So what do you do well, Skip?
What did you see at Minnesota? What did we do well up there? Who had the signature victory of all NFC East teams this year? The most impressive win, home or road, was on the road at Minnesota by the Dallas Cowboys.
Skip, baby.
It was. Well, it just was. It was a tour de force. 31-28. Andy Dalton played superb football. CeeDee Lamb made the catch of the year in the end zone.
Well, then what happened yesterday? Why did he make that catch yesterday? Why did he make the catch of the day yesterday?
Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Turn.
I will go to my grave saying that my Dallas Cowboys would now be in first place in the NFC East if the injury gods had not said, no, not this year.
That's true.
Not meant to be. We came out like a house of fire. We came out of the chutes. We shut down the Washington attack right out of the box with a 3-and-out and a sack of Alex Smith, led by DeMarcus Lawrence and finished off by Randy Gregory. I believe my team was inspired by the tragic loss of their strength and conditioning coach, Marcus Paul, lost a couple of days before at age 54. And they said they had a very emotional meeting on Wednesday night at the hotel leading into the game, and they came out ready to play with decals on their helmets for MP Marcus Paul. I believe they dedicated the game to him and that they were ready to go win the game, because when the offense got the ball in the first possession, they went boom, boom, boom right down the field. And all of a sudden I look up and the left tackle, Cam Irving, limps off with a knee injury. And 4 plays later, as they drive deep into Washington territory, the best offensive lineman in pro football, Zach Martin, who solidified the offensive line at Minnesota by moving to right tackle, is down and out. He is in anguish on the field because he had a little bit of a pulled calf in practice last week, was questionable, and it went completely out. It is now a ripped calf muscle. I don't doubt that he'll miss the rest of the year. And if you take away my right tackle and my left tackle against a Washington front that features 5 first-round draft picks, it is loaded. It is as forceful and lethal as any front in pro football to me. If you put 2 undrafted kids at right tackle and left tackle, one a rookie and one a second-year player, you're going to be playing uphill against that front the whole game, and they were. Congratulations, Shannon. The injury gods picked you.
Mike, hold on just a second now. Mike Vick told me last week, 2 weeks ago, I couldn't use injury as an excuse. Because when I told him Jason Peters was out, when Lane Johnson was out, when Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, D. Jack, Miles Sanders, Mike said, you can't do that. Hey, you can't do that, because a lot of teams have injuries. Now Skip Bayless is using the very thing that you said I couldn't use. He's using injuries as an excuse.
Exactly. That's the reason why I didn't mention the injuries. Yes, that's evident that this team has been, handled by injury all season. But you look around the league, who else, hasn't been, handled or decimated by injury? It's going to happen. We talked about the next man up rule when we was talking about Philadelphia. Guys got to step up. And, in the end, this team was in a position to win the football game. It was just going to take 4 quarters. That was taken away from them in 1 split second in multiple plays. So I just feel like they was put at a disadvantage. They had their opportunities. Andy Dalton wasn't playing bad. The score was, it was like 17-10.
It was 10-10 when he went for it on 4th down.
By the way, quick question on the Eagles. Do they have 2 undrafted kids playing their tackles? Is that who they went to?
Hold on.
Stop it.
Hold on. And Mike Vick, was Big Jason Peters there when you were there?
Yeah, he was there.
Oh, guess what? He was an undrafted tight end out of the University of Arkansas. They moved him to tackle at Buffalo. He was undrafted and going to the Hall of Fame.
Are you projecting that Terrence Steele is going to be an all-pro?
You asked me a simple question.
Stop it.
You asked me, was he undrafted? And I say Jason Peters was an undrafted tight end. That's what he was, wasn't he, Mike?
Yeah, he was, and then he fell into the hands of Andy Reid, and Andy Reid knew exactly what to do with him. So that's a totally different story.
And I will be the first to admit publicly that my team hung in, as Michael Vick points out, and they still fought, and it still came down to my man, CeeDee Lamb, who I raved about yesterday on the show, dropping a touchdown pass from Andy Dalton, hit him right in the wrong place, right in the hands that would have tied the score going to the 4th quarter. I thought that was an even more crushing play than the fake punt. That's just me.
I thought we were going to lead the players. We're going to let the players decide the game, not bonehead coaching decisions. But
by bones?
Yeah, no. I'm to Andy Reid, not Andy Reid, excuse me. Mike McCarthy, because he signed off on that. But at some point in time, y'all going to have to start giving Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers more credit than what you do, because y'all made it seem like it was Mike McCarthy. But when you got 2 all-time greats at quarterback, shouldn't your record be good? Shouldn't you have gone to the Super Bowl at least once, Mike Vick? With those 2 guys, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. You talking about guys that got almost 900 touchdowns between them, 5 MVPs. Come on, man.
I respect Mike McCarthy, man. I respect any man with a Super Bowl ring. I take that away from no, individual who's earned that right to say that, and won, throughout the season. Did what needed to be done and got a ring on their finger.
How he look without him?
But you got to continue. You judged on your decision making, in any profession, and ultimately there was some bad decisions being made yesterday, and it could lead to the demise of this team and the demise of some guys' futures. At all costs.
Skip, I'm gonna give you another example. You know this very well because you was covering the league at the time. George Seifert had people fooled, didn't he? They thought he was a great coach when he had Joe Montana and Steve Young. He took his butt down to Carolina with no quarterback, and what'd he do? He was out of the league of the year.
I'm still wondering how Aaron Rodgers has gone 10 years and not got back to a Super Bowl. He can't be that good.
I guess what? And Mike McCarthy can coach 20 years and he won't be back unless he get another quarterback like Aaron Rodgers.
No mercy.
Cowboys linebacker Jalen Smith got an interception and looked like he was about to take it to the house before Washington receiver Terry McLaurin came from nowhere to make a shoestring tackle. The defense would end up holding Dallas to just a field goal. So, Shannon, on a scale of 1 to 10, how impressive was this chase down?
Skip, it wasn't as impressive as the DK Metcalf because he didn't come from the distance. But it just goes to show you hard work pays off, because just like in the Metcalf situation, it kept them out of the end zone. And they had end up settling for, instead of tying the ball game, now we still have a 4-point cushion. Skip, that's the difference between winning and losing. One team wanting it more than the other. Because we had talked about the Cowboys not hustling on the Odell Beckham play. You're like, Skip, where's the hustle? You never know what could happen if you stop him. Because at that point in time, Skip, remember, you had cut it to a 1-possession game.
Yep.
I'm gonna give him a 9. I'm not gonna say it's a 10. You know what? I am gonna give him a 10 for the simple fact immediately he turned. Skip, if he hesitate a 1/10 of a second, now Wolf Hunter's gonna be in position to block him. He had to go instantaneous, and he took off, not knowing if he's going to be able to catch him. He said, but I got to try. Skip, look. Rivera said the players asked him earlier this month to make this young man a captain. Unanimously. A guy in his second year says, a wide receiver at that. There are not very many wide receiver captains, especially in their second year. It goes to show you the makeup of this young man. I'm going to give him a 10 because it could have been easily the difference in the ball game. Can you imagine? Now, the crowd was already erupting. Now, I guess they ain't got COVID in Texas because they got 30,000, 40,000 to go. Each week it went from 5,000 to 15 to 20. Now we got 30. In 2 weeks, we're going to have 55,000, 100,000 fans in Texas State. But that's neither here nor there, Skip. Can you imagine the fans had Jalen Smith scored a touchdown? Now, they were already going bonkers. Can you imagine what that would have done? And just like that, how deflating it was. We get the ball down to the 3-4 yard line, and they don't punch it in. So as high as you were, you equally as deflated because we just know we're going to get a touchdown. We got Zeke and CD and Gallup and Amari. And we can't get the ball in for 3 yards? Oh, man, it's over.
Well, they did get it in.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did. It hit CD Lamb right in the hand.
They get it in.
Did they not execute a play that should have been a touchdown? Did Washington stop them from scoring a touchdown? They did not. Neither DB did anything to stop him from catching the football. Stopped him. It was cold dropped right in his hand.
That's what I'm just saying. That's what.
Okay, I'm going to give Terry McLaurin an 8, and I have great respect for him, and I don't know how they stole him. Wasn't he a third-round pick?
Yeah.
I don't get that, but he ran 4.3 at the combine, and it is a legit 4.3 because people cannot cover him. They tried all day with 2, and they still couldn't cover him. The point was, I'm not going to degenerate here on Undisputed to the point where I'm giving a kid props for doing his job.
Right.
Because that's your job. You know this, and you've chased guys after an interception. It's part of being a football player. An offensive player is you turn and you run. There's no reason not to try your guts out to go stop him because you ran 4.3. Now, once upon a time, Jalen Smith ran 4.44 pre-injury, but he does not run a 4.40 anymore. He had a career-threatening knee injury, which is how Jerry Jones stole him in the second round.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look, I don't know what he'd time now, but would he be 4.6 maybe?
Oh, no, that ain't no 4.6.
I don't know. But the point was, Terry McLaurin knows in his soul he can run him down, right? It's an easy chase down, but you got to have the will to do it. You can't be too cool for that school.
Right.
You know, you can't say, oh, God, that's a bad break. Yeah, it was a bad break,
right.
but you can undercut it. You can cancel it just by doing your job.
But
use your talent to chase him down.
But how many times have we seen guys not do their job?
Too many. Totally agree.
And that was the difference, Skip, because he's like I said, he had to go immediately because a tenth of a second later, Wolf Hunter's in position.
Wolf Hunter almost got there, but made a shrewd play to say, I don't think you're going to get a block in the back.
Correct.
If you push too hard, and he kind of gave him a little bump, but he didn't arrive on time to get out ahead of him.
Right.
If he had, it would have been a touchdown.
You got to get that one in there. Yeah. You got to get that one in there, Jalen. You got to get that to the house. Out of house there, I'd have put a Deion Sanders on. I'd put my help.
Okay, so, yeah, you would have. But the point is, Buda Baker is faster than Jalen Smith.
Yes.
And so for DK to get on his horse and ride him down for 100 yards, like it was a 100-yard race, right?
Right. But that was the third. They said that was the third fastest skill position speed. Yep. He was like almost 21 miles an hour. DK Metcalf was 22 and a half.
That's just absurd. That's freakish.
And that man 240 pounds.
It's just silly. Okay, I got it.
Because Russ started. Russ like
No.
I ain't got nothing.
No.
I ain't got nothing.
But again, I give him credit because he did thwart what became only a field goal.
Right. And that's why I gave him a 10, Skip. Yep. Because if they had scored a touchdown, I was like, well, he ain't doing anything. But they didn't score.
Well, I'll give CD Lamb a 0 for
No need for the grades. You've been grading on the curve all year. I give him a B. I give him a C+.
Well, speaking of grades.
No mercy.
The Cowboys now have the worst odds to win the NFC East, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook, after their loss yesterday, in which Andy Dalton didn't have his best performance statistically. Dalton went 25 for 35 and had 1 touchdown, along with 1 interception in the 41-16 loss. So, Shannon, give Dalton a letter grade.
You know what, Skip? I'm going to go on and give him this old good D. I'm going to give him a D.
A D?
A D, yeah. I mean, he's 25 or 35, but what Alex didn't tell you, only 6 of those passes traveled 10 yards or more down the field. She didn't tell you that. And so the touchdown that he threw, but if you throw one touchdown for your team and then throw one for the other team, that cancels out. I mean, so even on the, they got 3 points on the drive that Jalen Smith returned the interception down to, the 3-yard line. The team had, you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm up here talking about it. The more I talked about it, I done talked myself into giving him an F. He flunked. Yep, flunked. Because now that I think about it, Skip, when you think about it, Skip, he threw a touchdown for the team. He threw a touchdown for the other team. So we had 0-0. He had 4 first downs and 7 drives in the second half. Huh? And no drives had more than 1 first down. What I'm supposed to do with that? And I keep telling you, Andy Dalton won 50 games in his first 5 years, and he went to the Pro Bowl. This is what we know about Andy Dalton. Last year, he was on a team that ended up getting the #1 overall draft pick. Andy Dalton was on that team. Now, a lot of these guys, now I understand that A.J. Green was injured last year, but Tyler Boyd was there and Joe Mixon and those guys, so they could still run the football. And Andy Dalton helped them get Joe Burrow. So, Skip, you know what? I was going to give him a D and say he passed, but he flunked.
Really?
He flunked, yes.
So this is a first in the history of the stat called QBR. Andy Dalton had a 74 QBR. That's on a scale of 0 to 100. 74 is pretty great. And he got an F for a 74 QBR. 2 plus 2 equals
No. Skip,
0.
what did eye test tell you? I don't know QBR, Skip. I'm talking about this play.
Thank you for asking that. My eye test told me that Andy Dalton played a superb football game under degree of difficulty scale of 0 to 10, a 10. Degree of difficulty. He lost his 2 best linemen, his 2 tackles in the first drive of the game. He had 2 undrafted kids, 1 first year, 1 second year, playing the tackles against a Washington front loaded with first-round picks that will come after you. Chase Young was the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and here he came. And predictably, right away, Brandon Knight just whiffed on him, and he got Andy Dalton from the backside, the blind side, right?
You know what you do, Skip? Why'd you do that?
You know, what I'm doing is I'm going to give Andy Dalton an A- for his performance yesterday because from start to finish, he played with guts and heart and savvy. In that first drive, even after he lost Cam Irving, his left tackle, it's 3rd and 11, and what does Andy Dalton do? He took off right down the middle of that Washington defense, and he ran for 11 yards because he can move a little bit. He's no Tom Brady. He can actually get out and run it.
You get him, man. So, first of all, Skip.
And by the way, you want to talk about a thing of beauty? That 54-yard touchdown throw to Amari Cooper, if we could see that quickly, it was just, you want to talk about dropping a dime?
He beat Darby. I'm trying to figure out how Darby...
what a throw. He got an F for that.
Darby,
this man gave him an F, and he executed that throw. And then could we see the throw to CeeDee Lamb that would have tied the game at 20-all? 20-20. That's to Amari. Look at this. That's a rocket shot. Hit him right in the hands. That ties the game going to the 4th quarter. You know, 2020 has been a jinx year for all of us, and I guess that score was a jinx score for CeeDee Lamb because it hit him right in the hands. 2020, no.
You're going to talk about you talk about the throw.
You gave him an F for
Darby,
those throws?
Yes, but Darby was in a bail technique.
Yep.
How you get beat on? How you get beat deep on bail?
Okay, but you got to hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it right down the chimney.
Okay, Skip.
It was a throw of throws.
Skip. Old Duncan Dalton. That's what I'm going to start calling him, Old Dink and Dunk Dalton. Skip, only 6 of his passes, of the 35 that he attempted, traveled 10 yards or more down the field. Let that sink in. So, in other words, he fishing around the shore. He just fishing. That's why he catching little fish.
If CeeDee just wraps it up and puts it away, we're talking about a tie game going to the 4th quarter with 2 undrafted tackles playing.
Whoa.
What are you talking about?
This is what I did. I never heard you say a word. When they had first-round draft pick Ty Smith, and they had first-round draft pick the center Travis Frederick, when they had first-round draft pick Zach Martin, and they were road grading people. You didn't mention anything about they were going against undrafted free agents, and they would talk about. But now all of a sudden the roles are reversed.
Andy Dalton, 74 QBR. Alex Smith, 22 QBR. He just nuked him in QBR. And you know what Andy Dalton proved once and for all?
What he proved?
He is easily the best quarterback in the NFC East. It's not even close.
Wait, why he keep losing?
You want Carson Wentz?
Why he keep losing?
Give it to him, Wentz.
Why does he keep losing?
Well, he didn't lose at Minnesota, and he wouldn't have lost yesterday if he'd had his 2 tackles.
So in other words, how many games has he won?
You gave him an F?
How many? Yes, I had him at a D.
I'm embarrassed.
I had him at a D. I had him at a D. Because here's the thing. First of all, you can't get an A if you don't win. Let's start there. We got to start there.
A minus.
No. It can't be.
I'll
A.
give him the minus because he threw it to Sweat. He just didn't get it up high enough, and Sweat just.
So in other words, Skip. So in other words, you neutralized your touchdown.
Yeah.
You gave our team 6. You took it back.
The game was already completely out of hand. Yes, it was.
Hold on.
It was completely out of hand.
So how did it get out of hand with him in there?
Thank you, Andy Dalton, for that effort because you were the only one.
Skip, the man had 7 drives in the second half. He had 4 first downs.
Yep.
4.
Yeah, with no protection. Way to go, Andy.
And he didn't put together back-to-back first downs in any drives in the second half.
Was that a drop by C.D. Lamb?
And you gave him an A.
Yep.
You gave him an A for that.
A minus. I did.
Now
stand by
I know who be grading for Pro Football Focus. Yeah. Now I see. Everybody get an opportunity to see.
Yeah, now I know who's not grading.
Andy Dalton, F.
No mercy.
Washington surprised everyone yesterday by busting out the Fumblerooski play against the Cowboys. It was somewhat successful, earning them a first down, but getting stopped short of the end zone. Alex Smith quick snapped the ball and placed it behind running back J.D. McKissick's legs before McKissick took off running with it. So, Shannon, how much did you like this play?
Love it anytime you can pull off something against the Cowboys because they fall for anything. They don't even know any better. They just standing around. Get up, line up, and get ready to play football, Cowboys.
You call that football?
I love it.
Yeah.
They running gadget plays on you guys.
Yeah. Why would you have to resort to some silly college play on 2nd and 5 from the 16 in the first quarter?
Cause it's y'all.
It didn't fool anybody.
It did. It got the first down.
Okay, it got the first down, but nobody was fooled by it.
Well, maybe you should have tried that on your 4th down and fake punt attempts.
Yeah,
maybe you should have tried that.
Yeah, why would you resort to pure amateurism? That's a play from a kid's movie called Little Giants in 1994. Congratulations.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, Skip. So if that's college-esque, they ran it with success, so y'all must be high schoolish-esque.
Yeah, well, that was a high school call by Scott
But it worked.
North Turner's son.
It worked.
Yeah, why would you have to resort to that? That's beneath the dignity of a Dallas-Washington game on Thanksgiving Day.
I mean, think about it, Skip. On Thanksgiving Day, they beat the brakes. When are y'all going to win another Thanksgiving Day game? Now, you lost to the Chargers, you lost to Buffalo, you lost to Washington. When are you going to win another one?
We beat Washington in the middle of those games. Yes, we did. Yes, we did in 2018.
I'm saying yesterday. I'm saying yesterday.
Okay.
All right, that's all we have for you guys today. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back Monday at 9:30 Eastern. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all next week.